How you doing, brother?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, man. Just a lot going on in the neighborhood. It's like Kwesi makes a move every 15 seconds. I got a microphone in front of Blake Cashman yesterday, who I knew from Eden Prairie High School, just a few years ahead of my son Derek. And then you get in the car, you go home, and it's like, what? Jerry Tillery's on our team? What? Trent Sherfield?
Yeah.
What? DJ Wanham went where? What? Keenan Allen's in the division? Oh, wow. And then, so you're getting ready for 9 to noon, writing questions for Finchy. And then we learn the Minnesota Vikings make a trade with Houston, where the Vikings have we now have 2 first-round picks, Peter, for our draft party show at U.S. Bank Stadium. We now have 11 and 23 because we have Houston's 23rd and their 7th-round pick, a 7th-round pick, 232. And Houston gets our second this year, 42, our second next year, and a 6th-rounder, 188. So we have 11 and 23. What the heck's happening, Peter? And good morning.
Well, a couple of things. I think number one, it makes trading up into the top, I'd say 3, maybe a reality, depending on whether the Patriots want to really truly rebuild elsewhere or grab one of these, one of the quarterbacks, maybe the Cardinals, maybe the Chargers. So I think it gives you some ammunition and then some insurance as well, that if things don't go your way, the quarterback or quarterbacks that you covet and desire go elsewhere. Well, then you get to stack the team, or you get to build up on a couple first round picks. And I think the good part of that is, and this is again purely not talking about necessarily need for the Vikings, so to speak, is this with the quarterback, with the heaviness of the quarterback position and the fact that 4 or 5 most likely will go in the first round. That leaves a lot of other positions that'll be untapped. So that 23rd pick, if the quarterback plan doesn't go the way we want it to, then you bring in 2 really good football players, one at 11 and one at 23. So, I don't think it's a draft where normally you'd think people would be trading down a little bit. They, to pick up one later, but we're in a situation, I think, where we've identified the quarterback of the future, and they want to do what they have to do to get there and to get him.
The buzzword right now at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center is flexibility. Is from what I've heard, with this deal an hour and 20 minutes old, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and staff and the team, they have flexibility in the first round with 11 and 23. Now, of course, they have next year's first round pick. You don't prefer to give that up, but the flexibility only will help them get exactly what they need. But in your experience, either the half decade you were a coach or, back when you played, if deals were made, or even just as a football fan, when a deal like this takes place, a month and a half in front of the draft or just a little less, isn't it fair to believe there's a handshake deal the Vikings have with somebody far in front of them in the first round that, we now have this and this, you want this, this, and this, so we can acquiesce, let's metaphorically shake hands, and then draft day, we know we can come up to your spot. You think that's part of it?
Yeah, I think some of that goes on. In what I don't know if you're willing to risk everything like that on just a handshake type deal,
right?
And that's a risk that you have. That's a risk that you run. But that's exactly how all of this goes. And the Vikings have been very, very active in free agency, and then you see kind of our free agent future. With how much we're going to have of the cap available down the road, yep. Right? I mean, that's another big number. So if you're looking down the road and saying, yeah, we're mortgaging some a lot of draft picks down the road, well, at least we have a lot of cap room down the road. Now we haven't re-signed JJ. I get that. But it makes sense, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You're not like in the Chargers position where you're cutting guys and having to get below a cap number by Wednesday or a certain time or midnight or whatever time the pumpkin turns back, or the carriage turns back into a pumpkin. And so you have that pool of cash out there in the future. So if you're not able to grab the quarterback that you need, at least you have some money to shop. Or if you do leverage and trade a ton to get the guy that you want, then you do have some cash on hand to fill some holes later. So, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this whole offseason, Paul, has been one for the ages. I mean, good God, you give these GMs, you give them $33 million extra to spend, and everything goes nutty. I mean, I don't recall a free agency like this.
No.
And we'll see how this draft goes too. So this could be a banner year for everything. Just so many moves and so many different things going on. So it's been every day waking up. Oh, look at this. Oh, hey, look at that. Austin Eckler. Oh, okay. It's right. Amazing.
And Jerry Tillery. All right. I mean, he's a little bit of a wild card in this thing because clearly bringing in Jerry Tillery, it's a prove it deal. All right. And it's like Marcus Davenport got a prove it deal from the Detroit Lions, meaning we're going to give you the entire offseason to prove you belong with us so that we guarantee your contract after week one for the totality of the season. Tillery's in that boat. Now, why I say he's a wild card is, I mean, he was ballyhooed. He was super highly hyped into the draft several years ago. And really, unless there are things I'm missing, it just really didn't work out. Now, let's not forget, Flores, as the defensive coordinator here, there were a handful of players last year who had the best seasons of their careers under the tutelage of Flores and his staff. So if Tillery rushing the quarterback, even as a backup on the inside, works, that's a hell of a hit right there, man.
It is. And I looked at some of my notes from when we were when we were playing the Raiders, and I saw that he played a little bit of nose tackle, but played a lot of played some three technique, and he really showed up a lot as a three technique. We'll get deeper into this as we go, but I mean, here's a guy, like you said, with a ton of potential, and I guarantee you that the Lions are going to get more out of Davenport this year because he realizes this is it, right? He's that high first round equity will get you 2 or 3 years. That second contract, it's probably going to help because things maybe didn't work out, so to speak, with that first team. But then you go to the next team and you play 4 out of 17 games, and then someone else is like, "All right, listen, we'll take a flyer on you, right?" Yep. And so this is put up or shut up time for a guy like Davenport. But we got a lot out of last year out of Danielle Hunter, and Danielle Hunter knew this was a free agent year and he was going to break the bank. So having guys on prove it deals or going into free agency, you do. You get a lot out of them, right? And I think it's a good situation and an opportunity to give this guy one more shot and in a position of need. And like I said before, if you were to pick a position on this defense, it would be interior defensive line.
Big time.
I mean, you don't get double teamed the line. You got you walk everybody up to the line of scrimmage, and I think that as a free agent, D lineman would want to be here, would want to play in this system.
Hey, let me ask you this, Bercich. If you can look back to last season, what'd you think of Jordan Hicks's play? And he moves on to the Browns. Now Cashman is here. In terms of, looking at that position, looking at how it's utilized within Flores' defense, anything you liked or noticed maybe to the negative side of Jordan Hicks and now, kind of mirroring that with a Blake Cashman coming in?
What I think Jordan Hicks, he surprised me in how well he could blitz and how well he could, get after the quarterback. I remember that the big completion that the Bengals had against us, if you remember, had he gotten there a fraction of a second earlier, we win that football game, right? It's just because the arm was going forward or so a fraction of a second, that game changes completely. I think with Hicks, what he did well, kind of under the radar, is he's a veteran and he played. When you rush extra guys, you're missing coverage underneath. And I think Jordan did a really nice job of understanding routes and patterns and really working his way into some passing lanes that prevented some plays. And I think that's because he's a veteran. He understands what offenses are trying to do. So for Cashman, the question is going to be, how well does he do in the passing game? right? How well does he understand what's going on around him? We know he can play up front. We know he can blitz. We know he can play the run. I don't think we're going to miss a beat in any of those aspects. It's just, I think that's the underrated part of losing Hicks, is that you have a veteran and a guy that understands the passing game and can really get where he needs to be. We'll see if Cashman's the same.
A big run for the analyst this week on KFAN.
Bercich.
Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. And when we did radio together at the Combine, we were kind of joking about this, but then we were talking about it and thinking it out. I'm talking about Josh McCown, all right? The new quarterbacks coach for the Minnesota Vikings. You can be like, have you heard Terrell Brandon owned a barbershop? That's super, super old school, but old schoolers will remember it. Hey, have you heard Josh McCown coached Drake May in high school? All right. Well, have you heard Josh McCown, who, by the way, hired his quarterbacks coach for the Vikings, Chris O'Hara, becomes passing game coordinator? I mean, that absolutely came out of nowhere, okay? So McCown's the quarterbacks coach. He also played with Sam Darnold, and they're very close. Sam Darnold is here. He also coached Drake May in high school, and the hypothesis is 1 for 1 out of 2 potential equations here. The second being Drake May with Josh McCown ruining dreams in 2003, costing you a bonus of $32,000 by not getting the Vikings to the playoffs as linebackers coach. And now, 2 decades later, it goes full circle, and because of him, we get a quarterback like Drake May. I mean, what a world if that's the case.
Well, yeah, and what a world if down the road, because of McCown's tutelage and getting Drake May here, we end up making a run in the playoffs. So then I have an opportunity to earn all that money back that he cost me in the beginning. So this could be the retribution tour for McCown. Excuse me.
That's what
I'm hoping.
Pete Bercich,
we're all hoping.
Analyst for the Vikings Radio Network. All right, in closing, once again, if you just joined us, it's a very fluid situation here, 9 to noon with the Friday Football Feast. Bear with us because Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is he's making a move every 5 seconds. All right, from Jerry Tillery to Trent Sherfield to this morning. The Vikings now have 2 first-round picks. All right, they traded with Houston. We have the 23rd overall pick in the draft and the 11th. We no longer have a second-round pick. Why would we? Somebody needs to rest on a Friday.
I always love that one.
After all of the moves made up to the draft. So, it's the speculation is going to be absolutely you got that first-round pick and potentially there's a handshake with somebody because you're getting up to 3, 4, 5, something like that. That's the prohibitive heavy favorite in this conversation. But favorites don't always win. So do you think there's even a chance, like with the quarterback is at 11? Well, let's put it this way. An elite defensive player, specifically with the defensive line, defensive ends or tackles, could be 11, and then maybe there's a quarterback they love in the back half of the first round that they know they can get around 23.
Yeah, it's possible. That's the thing. Those are the scenarios that you have to sit down, and there's no guarantee that someone like JJ McCarthy is going to go in that top 3, right? There's nothing that says that's going to happen. You start speculating on trades, and that's where things get crazy. I mean, look at how much the Arizona Cardinals can benefit just because they believe or they have that quarterback position sewn up. Mm-hmm. Right? They're in a position now where they can wheel and deal and do whatever they want. Same thing with the Chargers. Now the question is going to be, are the Giants happy with their situation and what are they going to do? I mean, how about that defensive line that they've put together there in New York with Brian Burns and Lawrence and I mean that's a good defensive front. And then right above us, Atlanta, they've given away everything except for draft picks right now. So again, the Bears, they're probably going to be taken care of. And I don't know, man, you may not have to move up that far. You're right, Paul, to get or move at all to get the guy that you want.
Well, so it's the Arizona Cardinals. All right. So the Vikings, after they lose 19 quarterbacks last year, they make a quick trade with Arizona for Josh Dobbs. And, I'm certainly not saying it was a fixed race. There were other teams that were in search of Dobbs at that time for sure. But Drew Grigson, Ryan Grigson's brother. Now, Ryan's the right-hand man to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah with the Minnesota Vikings. All right, used to be general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. He joined us 9 to noon at the Combine. His brother, Drew, was fired as player personnel director by the Arizona Cardinals just a couple of weeks ago. So here I'm thinking, all right, we got McCown and Darnold, McCown and May, Grigson and Grigson, Dobbs, Grigson and Grigson, 4. But that ain't going to work because I just learned he lost his job a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. All right. Love you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Our mole is gone.
Yeah. Talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
The Minnesota Vikings introduced their free agents yesterday from Jonathan Grenard through Eden Prairie's Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Rock City, Iowa, go crazy. Those are the defensive players. Offensively, we met Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold. I had the opportunity to sit down and chat with Aaron Jones for a few minutes after those press conferences. Likewise, Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel. Those interviews are coming up later. The interview with the running back, Aaron Jones, coming up next on KFAN. With this trade this morning and being away earlier in the week and the world just spinning on its metaphorical axis 1,000 miles per hour, at least as free agency goes.
Man, and you were on Venice Beach. Like you had guy on rollerblades with the guitar and the amp on his back playing Bob Marley tunes. Right. You had unregistered tattoo artists, some guy dancing on glass.
Right.
And the free agency world was exploding.
Right.
All of that's overstimulation for the host.
Well, and those basketball games and that hotel and those people. It was unbelievable. And I'm not begging for it to slow down. It's just like, we never root summer away, even though we get excited for the NFL season. I'm not rooting for this to slow down because it's fun, but I and we really haven't talked out Aaron Jones. Yeah, that Aaron Jones is running back for the Minnesota Vikings. It's like fly home, head to the rink, sounds of hockey in play. Now, here we are feasting we're like feasting right now in a metaphorical Buffalo Wild Wings, witnessing symbolic women leg wrestling, wearing Favre jerseys. It's just throwing us back to big moves. So what kind of feasting does old KOC have up his sleeve with Aaron Jones? Became an unstoppable force when healthy and fresh late last season. And quite honestly, I said it earlier with Fran Tarkenton, hour and change ago, about 45 minutes ago, that Aaron Jones became the identity of the Green Bay Packers offense when it mattered most. It all started and stopped with him. And now, so with Aaron, it just, in sitting down with him a little bit yesterday and just being there in the vibe for about 2.5 hours with these press conferences, it's the way I feel it went is with Green Bay, there was a reported pay cut request. I believe that to be accurate. Josh Jacobs ends up there. That's absolutely accurate. Aaron Jones ends up here. Showtime here. Showtime is his nickname, by the way, that he's had all of his life. Now, we've known it's Showtime, but like I asked him, is that a Packer-specific nickname? And he's like, no, I've had it all my life. So Showtime is his nickname. And another nickname that he would go by, and, it's quite convenient and predictable, is AJ. All right, Aaron Jones, AJ. But that nickname died. Aaron told me that nickname died with the Packers because of A.J. Dillon, and it was too confusing calling one running back an A.J. and another running back an A.J., so Aaron just became Aaron / Showtime. So ain't no A.J. in the backfield here. Maybe we dust it off after touchdown or touchdowns with Aaron Jones with He's AJ, and it's showtime. The Vikings lead by 10. So the bit seems to have gone down like this. AJ, take a cut. No. We'll find somebody else. So will I. They roll with Jacobs. Jones is like, cool. Anybody have a working cell phone number for Kevin O'Connell?
I always love that one.
If/when healthy, the Minnesota Vikings got a motivated high-end back and a full offseason for the head coach to craft. Case can be made that Aaron Jones is a better receiving back than Dalvin Cook. I said the case can be made because Dalvin was good, but Aaron catches it. I first and my first meeting with Aaron Jones was anything but ballyhooed, and it was not yesterday. It was after the Green Bay Packers thrashed the Minnesota Vikings end of last season. After they kill us, I'm waiting on the field to see, let's just say, a couple of Packers people that I know from afar, and I'm waiting. So then I see somebody walking out, and he turns around, and I see those dreads. And I thought it was Benny Sapp III.
I always love that one.
Somebody who went to high school with my son Derek. And I've known Benny Sapp Sr. and Benny Sapp III for X amount of years. So I'm about ready to say hi to Benny Sapp. And I'm like, hey, Benny. Turns around, Aaron Jones.
Oh my gosh.
So I already got a bit with him. You know, when I met him yesterday, I'm like, and this time I promise not to call you Benny Sapp. And he was very warm. He got a kick out of it. It's not the first time it's happened, he said. And his presser was nondescript yesterday until the skull chant right at the end. And after that, I sat down with Aaron Jones, didn't call him Benny Sapp, and talked the strange nature of change.
No, sir, not at all. I thought it would be, but not at all. After walking in here, being in the facility last night, meeting the coaches, it felt like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking NFC North. I'm not even talking border battle. I'm just saying being with one team out of UTEP, and then all of a sudden you get released. And then it's, hey, and I mean, you had a really, really good finish to the season last year. Shoot, they don't almost beat San Francisco without you, or maybe even be in that position without the way you were playing. So I'm saying more so just having somebody release you. Is that part strange?
That part is strange, after the season, I was told that, hey, we love you, you're the heart and soul of this team. So in my mind, I'm thinking I was going to be back. But, that's how the business works. You never know at the end of the day. And I thank the Packers for giving me the opportunity. Thank the Packers community for being great to me and giving me an opportunity to establish myself off the field as well in the community. So I thank them for that. But it was weird seeing that. But like I said, I was notified a little bit before that. So a day or two before that. So when it happened, I was fine.
Aaron, it's awesome to hear you lay it out like that. The Bible teaches to whom much is given, much is expected. And, you're like getting out in the community Tuesdays. That's important to you, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. It's very, very important to me. What goes around comes around, or when you're blessed, you bless others, and it'll come back full circle. My parents have taught me from a young age about giving back, and our foundation is really our family foundation that was started from the family of us just giving back. And I found out that that's my joy. That's what makes me happy when I see when I can give somebody something and it puts a smile on their face. I don't want anything in return. I just want to see a smile on somebody's face. So
what do you anticipate playing with the likes of, let's say, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison? TJ Hawkinson's in the mix coming back from an injury, but JJ and Jordan Addison, what should that do for your game?
It should make my game, open up my game a lot more, and that's one of the reasons I was excited about coming here. They have weapons all around, and it's going to make, at the end of the day, it's going to make my job a little bit easier, or give me some even better looks.
Your vision, your running back vision is impeccable. It's fantastic. Is that God-given or something you've had to gradually work on?
I think it's a bit of both, God-given, just having a natural feel, seeing what's happening, And then just kind of those bank reps as well, taking every rep, even if it's in practice or walkthrough, taking those reps serious as if it was a game rep.
Last one, Lambeau next season. It's going to be emotional. I know it's business now. Just think about it it's going to be unbelievable, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Definitely going to be unbelievable. I've already been thinking about it. I'm excited to play them here and there, and excited to play every other team, by the way. But I said I'm a Lambeau Leap when I get there. I'm fond of Vikings fan and Lambeau Leap. So
we'll call it the Vikings Vault. All right, last one, I promise. Are you cool with this? Jones heads to the left side, cuts at the 40, back to the right to the 30. It's showtime. Touchdown, Vikings. You okay with that?
Hey, I love it. Let's go. It sounds great to me. We'll be hearing that a lot, too.
What do you think of Aaron Jones? Got some juice to the offense, Mr. Nordquist.
Yeah, well, I love it. Low mileage for a 29-year-old. That's been a popular talker since since the news arose. He's in Minnesota, but he's 29. He's in Minnesota, but look at the age and all of that. And I look at it as, the health issues last year. If this hamstring thing that he endured in 2023 is not an issue moving forward, then you're looking at a guy that was never the 350 carry dude. And, he has blow-up games against Dallas. He's in Canton if he plays every game like he does against Dallas. He's had tremendous games and crushed our hearts as Vikings fans many times. But I love his catching ability. I love the pass protection. I love so much about Aaron Jones in this mix. And for a team that needs to be a lot better, we'll say, at the efficiency, the explosive opportunities via the run game, maintaining that pass protection and all of those things, I think this is an incredibly economical option for the Purple, as KOC still has the run game on his plate, his to-do list, certainly. But when we were talking about massive free agent investments and you saw all those running backs going off the board for a one-year opportunity, in some ways maybe it's a prove it or it's a shortstop or a prelude to an extension, wherever it ends up. Yeah. I love that Aaron Jones is here. I think that was a massively positive get for Kwesi and the Vikings.
At 1 year, $7 million. It's apparent to me that after being asked to take the pay cut, which Aaron said was predictable, but I don't think he thought it would be as big as they requested. And they were casting their gaze the way of Josh Jacobs, who's, I think, a couple years younger than Aaron Jones. All right, cool. But
a guy, by the way, that has all the tread on off those tires that I was praising Jones for. Yeah. Josh Jacobs has been used a lot with the Raiders the last couple of years.
But 1-7, okay? I mean, Aaron could have gotten 1-7 from a bunch of teams around the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, it took him 3 seconds to say, cool, you want to play that game? Well, now you got to play this game. And it's me, 33. It's showtime, and I'm playing you twice.
Are you saying we have an incredibly motivated member of the Minnesota Vikings Big on time. That 1 year, $7 million deal?
Big time. I mean, he didn't, unless his representation had intel, take that because something close to it won't be anywhere else. That's ridiculous. I mean, I could argue, I don't know what Tony Pollard got, but ever since Tony Pollard
3-24.
Well, he broke his leg in that playoff game or whatever it was.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. He was mediocre at best. I mean, at times he was awful last year.
Yeah, I think some of those running back fits, like I think Derrick Henry was made for the Ravens. Mm-hmm. I mean, that just totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. However, DeAndre Swift, maybe if that O-line's getting better and all of that. But Pollard seems super weird to me. Right. And in some ways, I don't want to call it desperate per se, but he was so bad behind that Dallas offensive line. Now he's going to a Tennessee situation with myriad issues.
Right.
And so, again, in terms of fits, that's weird to me with Pollard. I think in terms of how the Vikings navigated this without a long-term commitment, some value, the running back's going to be motivated. I mean, this is all plus signs on my side of things, at least in terms of Aaron Jones being here.
Yeah, it's just abundantly clear to me when it goes cut, bam, another team in division chief rival. Well, that was like, I mean, Aaron, I'm certainly not one to get in anybody's cash, but Aaron's made a fair amount of money during the course of his career. So 1 year, $7 million, get to hopefully beat those guys twice and put together a good season with 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games. I mean, I think he's only played a full season one time in his career. And he had 16 rushing touchdowns one season, and I'm pretty sure it was that season. And the receiving touchdowns, I mean, we got some sixes in there.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, 2019. So you have a motivated Aaron Jones, you have a speedy Aaron Jones, you have a very smart Aaron Jones.
I mean, 2022, he played all 17, only had 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns. So he has played 2 full seasons in his career, 15 in the mix, all of that.
Right.
Last year really was the most hurt or nicked up he has been in his career. But then once he was full cylinders towards the end, I mean, Jordan Love was feasting on having that running game, and so was the team as they advanced in the playoffs.
So, I mean, next step, like what's next plan always is important to 9 to noon. So, I mean, it's like before the trade this morning, and with the trade where the Vikings now have 2 first-round picks. Yeah. If you're just tuned in to 9 to noon, good morning. That's beautiful. Hopefully you have a fantastic weekend, and God bless your family. The Minnesota Vikings traded with the Houston Texans, and we gave up our 2nd-round pick this year and a 2nd next year, along with a 6th-round pick this year. And all of a sudden, the Minnesota Vikings have picks 11 and 23 in the first round. Draft party show, though. So the belief is it's to angle yourself to get the exact quarterback you want. And I'm not one to say that belief is wrong. And quite honestly, I would not bet against that belief. However, when you swing like that, and after you go 1-10 with Sam Darnold, it's that's going to be the anticipation, the talker, the guessing, the speculation, and stuff like that up to the draft. For sure, that it's going to be a quarterback. But does that quarterback come in and play immediately? What does Darnold with the 1-10 mean? I mean, you have a full off season to get the bit up to speed. How am I going to put this? You're foolish if you're formulating your opinions off Sam Darnold from like when he came into the league. And he made a zillion mistakes, and maybe he'll make a zillion mistakes again. But the situation he is in now, he comes from an elite situation, but he didn't play. He's in an elite offensive situation here, and he may play. He's never played with an offense like this, and when I say play, I mean play in games. So like when I say an offense like this and an aggressive play caller like Kevin O'Connell, I mean, Kyle Shanahan's as aggressive as they get, and their offense is as good as it gets. Main man never played. So with Sam, if he does play, it's going to be there for you, brother. Go out and dagger it. It's going to be there for you. This ain't Robbie Anderson in Carolina. This is not Chris Herndon with the New York Jets. This is not sitting on the bench and watching Brock Purdy throw shallow crosses to Deebo Samuel. This is Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a healthy Hawkinson, off-play action to Aaron Jones. You've never had that in your life. So if you play, it's right there in front of you, my man. You got to go out there and get it and dagger it. In fact, if Darnold plays, if he ends up playing X amount of games or, say, a season, my first Darnold prediction that I would make was when he has to run, you're going to like it. Very, very sneaky. He's a very sneaky runner. Need to vet that one out with KOC, but I remember it leaving an impression on me one of the 2 times the Vikings played Sam Darnold with the Jets or the Panthers. Very, very sneaky runner. So the Vikings also added a couple of linebackers. Minnesotan Blake Cashman, Eden Prairie High School. He went back to back to back to back. He won 4 consecutive state high school championships with Eden Prairie. And then went to the University of Minnesota, came into the league as like a 5th rounder, maybe a 6th, but a Saturday draft pick with the New York Jets. Went on the IR 8 million times, ended up with the Houston Texans. Denzel Perryman got hurt last year. Blake had to be the Mike linebacker, had 19 tackles, changed the game in a victory. And now he's here. Blake Cashman's here. He's incredibly excited to be here. Andrew Van Ginkel is from Rock City, Iowa. His family grew up in Rock City listening to the vast and ever-expanding Vikings radio network. So he kind of grew up a Vikings fan, but all of his family are Vikings fans. And I had a chance to chat with both of those guys yesterday. We'll play those back when we return. It's 9 to noon. Andrew Van Ginkel And edge rusher, outside linebacker for the Miami Dolphins, was there with Brian Flores. Well, now he's in the Minnesota Vikings covenant. I had a chance to meet him yesterday and chat with him about a bunch of different subjects. But when we sat down and turned and hit record, I started with talking about the fact that he's from Iowa and just like wondering, did you and your family grow up Vikings fans?
You know, I kind of bounced around. I was kind of a bandwagoner, but in my heart, deep down, I was a Vikings fan.
Well, bouncing around meaning like you didn't really have a favorite team?
Yeah, you know, my cousins make fun of me all the time because I kind of, went from team to team to team. And, but, I always listened to you and obviously watch a lot of Vikings games growing up.
It's a great opportunity for you here, no doubt, you and your family. But is changing teams in any way kind of weird?
It is. Obviously you got to go from city to city, meet all new people, and it's exciting though because you're obviously starting a new life and you're moving on to that next chapter. So I'm grateful for this opportunity and looking forward to being here in Minnesota.
Now, Andrew, for those who haven't followed your career closely in the AFC, stuff like that, how would you describe the position you play and just overall how you play?
I'm positionless. I do everything I'm asked to do. I try to be accountable and accept whatever role I'm given that season and try to excel at it.
Which undoubtedly is specifically the position flexibility in a Brian Flores defense. I mean, you probably learned that, when he was with Miami and you had just come into the league. That's super important for him, right?
Yeah, it is. He's always bringing in guys that can play multiple positions, and also, at the end of the day, it makes it tough on offenses and puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback and communicating different adjustments that they have to make. So, Flores saw me as a scheme fit, and obviously, I want to be here and play under him.
Now he was a head coach with the Dolphins, but obviously had a lot to do with the defense. What do you remember about his unique style of defense? I mean, it's the first time we saw it last year. It was a little slow to go, but then it caught fire, about, say, the third, fourth game of the season. What do you remember about it?
It's very aggressive. We're going to come after you. We're going to try to put you in vulnerable spots and make you communicate and make sure they got to be on top of their game because we're going to throw a lot of things at you.
So Andrew, when you're from Iowa and then you played at 3 different colleges, all in the Midwest, and then you go to Miami, and you're in Miami for a while, and I saw your wife tweet within the last week or within the last several days, back to the Midwest. So coming back to the Midwest, how do you feel about that?
Oh man, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. My family back home is excited and. To me, it's a dream come true to play for the Vikings, such a great organization and just incredible fan base. I'm stoked. There's no words to describe it.
Now, you have 2 touchdowns during your career, right?
Yeah, I might have 3.
Oh, geez. Well, I remember the one in 2020 when Goff played for the Rams. I mean, that had to be a strange one. You're running like your hair's on fire, and you have a lot of hair, so that was a lot of fire. When you got to the end zone and looked up, and it was the 2020 season, was anybody there?
Yeah, I think Miami allowed a little bit of fans, so, there's, probably about 10,000 people there or something, but, I'm just grateful. Obviously, I did score 3 times. I scored against the Bears and, then again this past season against the Commanders. So, I scored and I just blanked out. I forgot where I was, what I was doing, and I'm running around looking for my teammates, looking for something to celebrate for. So, just a great experience for me.
And I'm sorry about missing that Bears touchdown, the pick 6 with with Washington. I remember that vividly. In the Bears game, what kind of a touchdown was that?
It was a block punt. Jalen Phillips came up and under, blocked the punt, and then, being in the right spot at the right time, I picked it up and ran for a score.
Now with the pick 6 last year against Washington, I mean, seriously, did you know that play? I mean, it's like the quarterback threw it right to you, but I mean, you had a little deke to the right, and then you jumped into the spot. Film study, right?
Yeah, definitely comes from film study. The offensive tackle does a certain set and tries to sell it a little bit. So, I saw that right away, started floating out, and it's just one of those things that you watching film, you dream of making these plays, and to have it be executed to perfection, to say, it was a great feeling.
Last one, my man, and good to meet you too. Welcome to the squad. What from what you know about the Vikings now, off a season last year with a bunch of injuries, went through 4 quarterbacks, competitive in a ton of games. O'Connell's squad wins 13 the first season, and now you're a big part of this defense. What overall from Jefferson through your role, what do you know about the squad?
First off, I'm just excited to be a part of this culture. Obviously, O'Connell's done a great job with getting guys in here that are going to work hard. They're going to do everything right. So, I've watched from afar, and obviously you got some great playmakers, like you said, Jefferson and Hawkinson, and you got all these guys, Aaron Jones here now, and we got some new free agents coming in on defense, but just who they had here before, and that's instilled Brian Flores' defense and his style of play. I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm looking to build for the future.
AVG, we, Andrew Van Ginkel, thank you very much for the time. Likewise for Blake Cashman, Eden Prairie High School, University of Minnesota, New York Jets, IR, Texans, then the Minnesota Vikings, sat down with this inside linebacker, and was like, it must be cool being home, but what about all those ticket requests you're about to get?
Yeah, that was something that crossed my mind early. I told my folks, I said, I'm definitely going to have to get used to using and saying the word no. And honestly, I think people will understand it. I think it's going to be easier than, when I had a bunch of family traveling 2 games and expecting me to cover tickets, because, hey, I'm not going to be working for free every Sunday, because that's about how many tickets I'd be dishing out.
Right. And officially welcome home, Blake Cashman, Eden Prairie High School, University of Minnesota, Houston, New York Jets into the game, but Houston Texans most recently. Cool 3-year deal you got here. What, just from what you know now about the team and about the opportunity, what excites you about it?
Wow, there's so much to be excited about, and what really, why I was interested was because I just felt the love from the Minnesota Vikings. I felt like they were really making me a priority, and they saw an important role for me. And for somebody that hasn't got to experience that in the professional football, that's everything I've been working for. So that was the main reason. And then on top of that, I know a lot of the guys that either play for the Vikings or have come through this organization, and there is not one person that has said anything bad. It's all top-notch, first class. And that's all appealing, and it's part of, that's a team I want to be a part of. Any player wants to be a part of.
Now I know Houston's in the rearview mirror, but nevertheless, nice season last year, not only by you, but by the team. Seems like D'Amico just really came in there and grabbed that thing and got everybody to believe. Is that fair?
Definitely. That's going to be a team that I think controls their division and wins a lot of football games over, the next coming years. And, D'Amico's the right man for the job. They got a lot of young players in that locker room that understand leadership and accountability, and they got the right men and people in that building that they're going to connect and continue to head in the right direction.
Now, following your career from afar, I got a lot of respect for not only, starting in high school and through college, getting drafted, but I don't know the number here, feels like 4 or 5, but you've hit the IR a fair amount. So, you've had some bad beats early in your career, and it came together last year really for the first time for you, right?
Yeah. Early on, especially my second and third year in the league, I struggled with injuries. I got traded to Houston, which ended up being the biggest blessing ever. The performance staff in Houston, who has also, I got to put on the record, has said amazing things about the performance staff here in Minnesota. So they're like, you're in great hands. Like, you're going to pick up where you left off here. But that performance staff taught me a lot about how I should be taking care of my body, what I need to do for recovery, what I need to do for training. And that really helped me kind of get over the injury bug. And I just feel physically better throughout the season and on game day.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I didn't watch a lot of your games last year, but you had 19 tackles in a game against Arizona. And position flexibility in a Brian Flores defense is imperative. I mean, we got safeties playing linebacker, sometimes playing inside corner, stuff like that in Josh Metellus. But in that game against Arizona where you had 19 tackles, did you have a position change in that game?
I was predominantly the Mike linebacker, but there was a handful of times we had to go base defense and bring a third linebacker on the field. So when that happened, I would bump over and slide into the Sam linebacker position. Right. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun game for me, being able to fly around the field. And, thankfully, my teammates are doing their job, allowing me to get a lot of opportunities to make plays and to capitalize on those plays.
Edge rusher, pass rusher, just defensive player, Jonathan Grenard. What, for those who haven't watched him up here, what can you tell us about how he plays?
He plays, with his hair on fire. I'm so happy he's here and he's going to be lined up in front of me, because I felt like a lot of my big plays or TFLs happened when he was lined up in front of me, because he's got a very quick first step. He's great with his hands, and, he's going to be living in the backfield of our opponents. So, I'm very excited for him that he's here and this opportunity. He's going to love Minnesota, and, talk about a man that's one of the best locker room dudes I've ever been around. So, he's going to love Minnesota. Minnesota's going to love him.
Now, when you played for Mike Grant at Eden Prairie High School, correct me if I'm wrong here, did you win a state championship every year you were there?
Yeah, we RT4 Road to 4. We four-peated, so that was a great time.
Who just to jog the memory, who were some of the players on that team along with you who are in the NFL now, or had been in it recently?
So Ryan Conley, who just finished up his 5th year, he was in New Orleans, the Saints. Yeah, he was a Viking as well. It was myself, Carter Coughlin, who just signed back for his 5th year with the New York Giants, and for a couple of those years, Antoine Winfield, who we all know, the all-pro safety down in Tampa, outstanding player. So we had some talent on that high school football team.
And it's the NFL and the trade and now free agency, the business side of it can overwhelm people at times. So does that, looking back on those days, just talking about it now, I mean, how special were those days at Eden Prairie High School for you and your family?
Oh, I mean, Friday Night Lights is some of my favorite memories when I, just think of my entire football journey, and, to be able to carry that over to the University of Minnesota, which I think of a school in my backyard, and then now get to play for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that's a story that nobody can even dream of or come up with. It's crazy.
Last one. Houston, I'm sure, as you know, is here and on the schedule. We don't know the date, but you're going to play your former team. That may not be as emotional now as it will be the week up to the game, but you probably thought about it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I was thinking about that within the first 20 minutes of me agreeing to terms with the Vikings, but going to be excited for that. Every player is. Everyone's competitor, and wants to get the better of their old team and teammates. So I'm very excited for that opportunity, and it's going to be a good one.
Aaron Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Blake Cashman leading us into the final hour. A break from football for a second. Replay the Chris Finch interview from the beginning of the show in case you missed it. Then back to football and this big Vikings trade and stuff like that. Good morning. It's 9 to noon.